Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. Raw sucked again. Let's just get this over with, huh? I've got something I'd much rather be doing, so... And I'm really sorry to come off as so down all the time. I know I've apologized for this before, but it's really getting old having to be so depressed about this, because honestly, whatever. February 17th, 2014, from Denver, Colorado. Show starts, Cena comes out. And while he's coming out, we get a recap from last week, his match with Randy. Cena gets in the ring and talks about the Elimination Chamber match. And he starts talking about his other opponents in the Chamber match. And then the Real Americans music hits, and out comes Cesaro with Zeb Coulter. And Cesaro talks a bit, whatever, and then Sheamus's music hits, and he comes out, and he talks. And I think you can see where this is going. Pretty much everyone, everyone in the Elimination Chamber match comes out, and they talk. After Sheamus, we get Christian, he comes out and talks, and then Randy comes out and talks, and then Daniel Bryan comes out and talks. And of course, there's a big yes, yes, yes chant from the crowd. But then Kane's music hits, and he comes out to the stage. Well, he's basically cutting a promo while he's walking to the ring. And, there's a "You Sold Out" chant from the crowd. And basically, what Kane says is that the Authority, Stephanie and Triple H, have left Kane in charge for tonight. And that being the case, he has decided to... Well, we already knew that Randy was going to go against Sheamus for the main event, because Randy has to finish his gauntlet of everybody else in the Elimination Chamber match. But Kane also says that the rest of the Elimination Chamber match participants are going to have matches as well. Cesaro is going to go against John Cena. And Christian is going to go up against Daniel Bryan. Not only that, but that match will be next. And Kane says he's going to sit down and watch the match up close and personal. The commentators hype up another match that's going to take place later tonight. After last week, the thing that went on between The Shield and Mark Henry, Henry gets a chance at payback, I guess. He's going to take on Roman Reigns, and that's going to be a little bit later on. And we're also going to get the Los Matadores and Sin Cara versus the Wyatts. And then we cut back to the ring. There hasn't been a commercial yet. We cut back to the ring, and he's in the ring with Christian, and Bryan's over near the ropes yelling at Kane, who's still over by ringside, of course. And Kane's basically just distracting Bryan. Christian decides to attack Bryan from behind. And obviously the crowd doesn't like this, and they start booing. Christian's beating up Bryan, and he takes Bryan out of the ring and throws him into the ring steps. And it's about at that point where we finally do cut to a commercial. When we come back, the match is finally starting, Christian and Daniel Bryan, and it turns out to be a decent match. Obviously, because of Bryan getting thrown into the stairs, his shoulder is hurt. So Christian spends the match working Bryan's arm. Bryan tries a suicide dive, but Christian stops it just by basically doing his little slap thing from the floor. Christian works the arm. Bryan finally hits the suicide dive. And then there's another commercial break. Bryan is able to do his comeback combo, and then he does his repeating chest kicks. And then he gets the roundhouse kick as well. And then he goes up top for the big diving headbutt, but Christian gets his knees up, which somehow hits Bryan in the hurt shoulder. Anyways, the finish of the match, Christian's going for the kill switch. Bryan counters out of it, jumps up and does the big rolling double H roll-up move. And he gets the win with it. So again, Bryan wins with a roll-up. Don't know why they couldn't have Bryan win with the S-lock or the big running knee. I guess basically showing that Christian is the total bitch of the Elimination Chamber match. He gets beaten by a fucking roll-up. So congratulations, Christian. You are the Natalya of the Elimination Chamber match. You get beat with a roll-up. Congratulations. After the match, Kane, who has been sitting at ringside, of course, the whole time, he has a mic and he says, "Congratulations, Bryan, but I forgot to mention you have one more match tonight. Against me." Kane takes off his suit jacket and his dress shirt and tie. He's got a wife beater underneath. And we get another match. Bryan versus Kane. Bryan is quickly knocked out of the ring, and we get another commercial break. When we come back from the commercial, Kane is working Bryan's arm, of course. Bryan is able to come back and does the big jumping from the top rope front missile drop kick. And then he starts doing the repeating chest kicks. And he goes for the roundhouse, but Kane stops him by grabbing him by the throat, backing him up and throwing him over the top rope like that. Kane beats up Bryan a little bit on the outside before putting Bryan back first up against the ring post. He's got Bryan set on the apron up against the ring post, and Kane is wrenching Bryan's arm, his hurt arm, backwards, torquing it around the post. And of course, this is, I believe, what would be considered an illegal move, considering you're using the ring as a weapon. The ref starts counting, 1, 2, whatever. And I'm like, well, this is lame. The referee gets up to 5, and he calls for the bell. Kane's been disqualified. And Kane continues to beat up Bryan. He takes him over to the other corner of the ring on the outside, over by the ring stairs. And he lays Bryan on top of the stairs, wrenches his arm backwards behind his head, in between the gap between the stairs and the post. And then he kicks the stairs, which is supposed to sandwich his arm in between. So yeah, he's just trying to wreck Bryan's arm and shoulder. So, yeah. And then Kane gets a mic and he says, "Yeah, I know I'm disqualified." He didn't care, obviously. He's just trying to hurt Bryan. Yeah, so Bryan won by DQ. Not like it matters. After that, we get a recap of the match from last week between Ambrose and Mark Henry. And that segues into Renee Young backstage, who introduces her guests, The Shield, who First, Ambrose talks about, the thing last week with Mark and how he couldn't win, blah, blah, blah. And then Roman cuts in and he's like, yeah, you couldn't beat him, whatever the hell. They go back and forth. And then Rollins cuts in and he's like, guys, we need to be focused on the Wyatts, man. And so, yeah, whatever. After that, Dean and then Roman both talk about the Wyatts. And Roman ends with a believe in the Shield, and then that's it, and they cut to another commercial. When we come back, Fandango is finishing his entrance with Summer. And then Santino's music hits, and he comes out, of course, with Emma again. And while the two of them are making their way to the ring, we get a video package about Emma, showing a lot of clips of her in NXT. Yeah. And so obviously this is a match. Fandango and Santino. I couldn't give a shit less about this match. I was not even paying attention much. But the finish of the match comes. Santino was about to do the Cobra. And Summer jumps on the apron to distract Santino. And Santino goes over, he's got his arm cocked for his stupid Cobra thing. He goes over to her, she jumps off the apron. And there's Emma, who grabs Summer up, gets her up on her shoulders, and does an airplane spin. And she's going around and around and around. She finally drops Summer on her ass. And Emma's all dizzy and whatever. Santino stupidly gets out of the ring. He's like, are you okay? He's trying to make sure she doesn't fall on her ass. And then it's like there's flirting going on between Santino and Emma. They're looking at each other and whatever, and then finally Santino awkwardly goes for a kiss. He's like, and Emma looks like she's leaning in for it too. And then from behind, you see Johnny's boots kick it out from the ropes and just kick Santino in the back and knock him on his face. Johnny goes out and grabs Santino, throws him in the ring. He probably hit the Falcon Arrow on him, and then the leg drop. I don't know. I didn't really see the finish because I was too busy picking my nose or scratching my ass or something that was more interesting than this fucking match. But Johnny gets the win, so whatever. We cut backstage to a hallway where there's Renee Young again, and she comes across Mark Henry. And she asks him, what are your chances up against Roman Reigns tonight? Whatever the fuck, who cares? Cutting back into the arena, the Shield music hits, and the three of them come out, and it's time for Reigns and Henry. And then they cut to a commercial. And when they come back from the commercial, Henry is already on his way out. He's already, halfway down the ramp. Whatever. We get the match. Roman and Mark Henry. And there wasn't really a whole lot to this match. There was a Roman Reigns chant from the crowd. Reigns was able to hit a big Samoan drop on Henry. And then, let's see, Roman was in the corner, and Henry was in the corner with him. And Roman just kind of propped himself on the corner, put his boots on Henry's chest, and just kicked him off really hard. And that was enough to knock Henry on his ass. And after that, Roman punches the fucking ground again and cocks his fist like he did the last time for the Superman punch. He actually cocks his fist. Anyways, he comes charging, he hits the Superman punch, knocks down Henry, and then he backs up into the corner again, and he goes for the spear, and he hits it, and Roman actually manages to pin Mark Henry clean. Rollins gets in the ring, and he's like, yeah, man, that was great, yeah, whatever. Ambrose gets in the ring, he's like, motherfucking... And Ambrose is like, whatever the fuck. He just starts kicking the shit out of Henry. He's like, I would fucking beat your ass. He takes him outside, throws him into the announce table, throws him into the stairs, whatever. And then we get the Wyatt cut. And those three chuckle nuts appear on the Titantron. And Bray starts talking. He's singing at first, and I don't really give a fuck. He finally stops singing and he starts talking, and then he lets Harper talk for a minute. And then Bray again. And finally, from in the ring, there's the Shield guys still standing there. Roman has a mic and he's like, why wait until Sunday or whenever the pay-per-view is? We're here right now, so bring it. And Bray says, you know what? I was thinking the same thing. And then Rowan says run again. And so the Wyatts come out, and they get in the ring this time. But Roman steps up, and then Rollins and Ambrose step up too, and they're getting pretty close. And then Wyatt's like, no. And they get out of the ring again. The Wyatts bail again, like chicken shits. After that, we get hyped for the Cena and Cesaro match, as well as the Orton versus Sheamus match. And then we get another commercial break. And when we come back, Cody Rhodes and Goldust are in one of the locker rooms. Or I should say it's just Cody at first. Cody's playing with this new set of toys that the WWE has. They're called Stack Down, which is basically a Lego. I think it's made by a different company, but it's basically like Lego toys for the wrestling. And Cody's got a ring and some other shit and whatever the fuck, and then Goldust comes up and he's like, how about I play with you? And ugh. They're talking about, who gives a fuck? The punchline is, all of a sudden, in steps Wade Barrett, who says, I've got some bad news. And he just smashes the little Lego playset thing. And then he leaves. So, they've literally ran out of ideas for this bad news Barrett shit. He's reduced to, I'm gonna smash your Legos. Cody basically no-sells and he's just like, yeah, whatever, we'll rebuild, I don't give a fuck. So fucking stupid. Cutting back to the ring, the Real Americans music, or no, it's not. No. Kofi's music is playing. But him and Jack Swagger are both in the ring. So Swagger gets a jobber entrance, but so does Kofi, but at least Kofi's music was playing. So the two of them are having a match. It was boring. There was a JBL chant, there was a CM Punk chant, and the finish of the match, Kofi hits the SOS, but Swagger is able to get a rope break for the pin. After that, let's see what happened. I don't remember. Swagger got the Patriot Lock locked in, and he was able to get the win. The crowd didn't give a fuck, and then out comes Big E, who has a matchup next. So he's interrupting Swagger's celebration. He's like, fuck you, I got a match next, bitch. You're gonna get the hell out of the way. So Big E's got a match next. They cut to commercial. And when we come back, Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre are in the ring. And Heath Slater is nowhere to be found. Not like that's a bad thing. And what we're told is that this is going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match. Big E versus Mahal and McIntyre. And it actually turned out to be a decent match. Zeb and Jack Swagger are still there during the match, and Zeb has a microphone. No, he's not on commentary, he has a microphone. And he is talking throughout the whole match, basically just shitting all over Big E. Like, you know, Big E would hit a big move on Jinder or McIntyre, and he's like, you'd never be able to hit that on Swagger. Ugh. This was ass. Okay, here was something. Big E had Jinder up, caught him in his arms, like, I think Jinder went for like a crossbody or something, and Big E caught him, but he's got him in position like that, like he's going to give him the world's strongest slam, but no. Drew comes running up and kicks Big E right in the face. And I think this was enough to draw blood from Big E's mouth, because they got a shot of him a few seconds later, and yeah, it looked like he had blood coming out of his mouth. The finish of the match is Big E takes his straps down. He's floored both Mahal and McIntyre. He gets Mahal up on his shoulders, drops him with the big ending. Mahal rolls out of the ring. Drew comes charging. I think Big E dodged him, just kind of threw him into the ropes, and Big E catches him tilt-a-whirl style, like you normally go with a tilt-a-whirl, like a backbreaker or a slam or whatever, but he gets him up tilt-a-whirl slam, catches him on his shoulder, right into the big ending, plants him, and he pins Drew for the win, so Big E wins. Zeb and Swagger start leaving, but before they get away from the ring too far, Big E has a mic and he says, what the fuck did he say? Oh, he says, at Elimination Chamber, I hope they have diapers big enough for you, Zeb, because after the pay-per-view, your mouth won't be the only thing that's got crap coming out of it, or something like that. That's basically what he said. Whatever. After that, we get another promo from Lana and Alexander Rusev. And I couldn't give a shit less. Honestly, Rusev can go fuck himself. If Lana can wrestle, let's just have her in the Divas division. We need all the good Divas we can get. I couldn't give a shit less about some new hoss who can't even speak English. Okay? But anyways, after that shit, we get another commercial break. And coming back from that, we get another Black History Month video. In this one, they honor Ron Simmons, who has the distinction of being the first ever African-American WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Damn! And that's basically it. After that video, they show a video for the Elimination Chamber match. It's basically just a promo package. After that, we cut backstage again to Renee Young, who's with John Cena. He talks and whatever, and the ending, it segues into his entrance. At the end of his promo, you can hear his music start. And then the cameras cut back out to the arena, yeah, and Cena comes out. We get another commercial break. And at the end of the commercial, we get a Raw Rewind or whatever the fuck it is? It's basically a recap from SmackDown last week of Cesaro beating Randy Orton. And after that, Cesaro comes out with Zeb and Jack Swagger. And we get the match, Cena and Cesaro, which actually turned out to be a good match. Let's see, I'm trying to remember what this was. Cesaro caught Cena with a tilt-a-whirl. Right, he did a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker on him, but I'm trying to figure out what it was that Cena did. I think, again, Cena went for, like, a cross-body. and Cesaro caught him tilt-a-whirl into a backbreaker. Cesaro got Cena down, and he went up to the second corner, or the second rope, and he kind of walked along the rope out of the corner a step, and then jumped off and did an elbow drop. Shortly after that, there was another commercial. And another thing, Cena got caught again by Cesaro, this time in fall-away. This is what I should have called it before. The world's strongest slam position, fall-away slam position as well. But Cesaro catches him like that again, and he does a fall-away slam, but he holds it into a pin. Cesaro does. Oh, that was kind of interesting. Cena starts doing his comeback combo, and he goes for the protoplex, but Cesaro got out of it somehow and tripped Cena, and he was going to go for the big swing. But Cena got out of that somehow, and he went into the STF. But then Cesaro got out of that and did his deadlift gut-wrench suplex thing on Cena. Cesaro managed to hit one European uppercut in one corner, and then he had Cena in another corner, and he went for it again, but Cena got out of the way. Right, he gets out of the corner, Cesaro hits face first into the corner, and then he backs up, and Cena lifts him up for the protoplex, and he hits it this time. And I think he did the 5-knuckle shuffle, I don't know, who gives a fuck. He gets Cesaro up into the attitude adjustment, but Cesaro slips out of it. Alright, he slipped down the back, pushed Cena into the ropes, and as Cena came back, Cesaro lifts him up, Swiss death uppercut, knocks the fuck out of him. And then he goes for the big swing again, but Cena somehow countered it into a DDT. I don't know how in the fuck that happened. Cena goes up to the top rope. He was going to go for the big leg drop bulldog thing, but he gets caught. Cesaro charges, hits him with another European uppercut, and Cena falls out of the ring all the way to the floor. And after a few seconds, Cena's able to get back up onto the apron. Cesaro's up on the second rope. And Cesaro grabs Cena, cinches him up from a suplex, but Cena's still standing on the apron, right? Cesaro lifts him up all the way from the apron into a superplex out of the corner. This looked friggin' great. And it just goes to show you how fucking strong Cesaro is. It was like a deadlift suplex from the apron, superplex out of the corner. It was freaking awesome. The commentators, they loved it. They were like, holy shit, you know. Cena was able to come back and he put the STF on again, but Cesaro was too close to the ropes. Cena went to pull him back, but Cesaro rolls over and tries to kick Cena off, but he doesn't really. But he has to grab Cena and he trips him. He goes into the swing again. And he does the big swing this time and he gets it. The crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome." I don't know if I'd give the match that much credit. It was a good match, but it wasn't exactly awesome. But yeah, so Cesaro did the swing. He goes for the neutralizer. But Cena, you know, he's got his head in between Cesaro's legs. He just lifts him up into the attitude adjustment. And he flips him over, but Cesaro actually lands on his feet. And I know they've tried this spot before with Punk and with Bryan, and they couldn't really land it. But Cesaro sticks the landing, flies forward, bounces off the ropes, comes back, and Big Boot just kicks Cena right in the face. So that spot looked pretty sweet too. What ended up happening is Cena basically no-sold the Big Boot, got up, clotheslined the shit out of Cesaro, And then this was kind of interesting. Cesaro was laying on his back. Cena kind of dove over him, grabbed him, and rolled through, got him up on his shoulders, stood up with him in the Attitude Adjustment. He slams him with it, and Cena gets the fucking win. So, yeah. Cesaro can beat the real wrestler, Randy Orton, but he can't beat the punk bitch, John Cena. Of course not. Nobody's ever gonna beat John Cena clean. God damn. They made Cesaro look good, I'll give him that much credit. But Jesus, if you want to build this guy up, you could have at least given him a cheap win. Like, he rolls Cena up, pulls the... He can't really pull the tights. He could pull his shorts, you know. He could pull the shorts and get a cheap win with a roll-up and bail really quick, and... Nope. Cena has to win. Whatever. We get more hype for the Orton versus Sheamus main event, and then we cut to a commercial. And when we come back, there's Randy Orton backstage, and he's talking to Triple H. And Randy says something about Batista not being that good, and we basically carried him in Evolution. And then the camera pans over, and there's Batista standing right behind Randy. Randy turns around and he's like, "Hi, Dave." Whatever. Batista, I think, basically scares Randy off. And then up comes Alberto Del Rio in a neck brace. He says some shit, and I think Batista basically shoved him, and Del Rio went up against some shit that was standing there. Whatever. And the segment just kind of ends, Batista pissed off, and Triple H is just staring at Del Rio. Like, kind of shaking his head like, "You suck." And that was the end of the segment. Then we cut back to the interview place again with Renee, and she segues into a recap from SmackDown again last week, this time of Darren Young beating Damian Sandow. And then Titus attacking him, but still getting beat by Young and having his suit ripped off. Back with Renee, in comes Titus O'Neil. And he talks. And this is just fuck off with this guy. He has to start with his dog barking shit. And then I think he says, "You know, Renee, you're a smart girl. How about you tell me how to spell champion?" And she's like, C-H. And he's like, No. You spell champion T-I-T-U-S. And I'm just reminded so much of a promo from a really long time ago. I believe it was a promo before WrestleMania 7. There was a big feud going on at the time between the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and his former bodyguard, Virgil. Virgil had ditched DiBiase. He was tired of taking DiBiase's shit, and he'd hooked up with Roddy Piper, and Piper was training him, helping him out, you know. And before WrestleMania, Virgil cuts a promo saying, "At WrestleMania, you spell man Virgil." And I just couldn't help but think about that promo with Titus. Except, sorry Titus, but you're not going to get the reaction that Virgil got. And see, that's sad, okay? That's really fucking sad. Titus, go fuck yourself. You're not going anywhere in this fucking company. As a matter of fact... No, you know what? Just go fuck yourself. Take your dog barking. Take your cheap suits. And just go fuck yourself. Anyways, cutting back out to the arena, the Matadors' music hits. And they come out with El Torito to hardly any reaction. And then they cut to a commercial break. And obviously, this is where the big six-man match is going to happen. But when we come back from the commercial, the Wyatts are already coming out. And Sin Cara is already in the ring with the Matadors. So yeah, we get the match, and who gives a fuck? Here's the finish, because again, I was too busy picking my nose or listening to music on my computer to give a fuck. The finish of the match, Sin Cara is in there with Luke Harper. He gets Harper down, and he goes for the Swanton, but Harper rolls out of the way. And Harper hits his big discus clothesline on Sin Cara, and then Bray says, "Let me in." So Harper tags Bray in. Bray comes in and he does his stupid little back bend pose in the corner, and he gets Sin Cara, he hits the Sister Abigail on him, and he wins. And the crowd is dead. And then they do the cutaway gag. We get more hype for Orton versus Sheamus, and we cut to another commercial break. And when we come back, the middle-aged Outlaws are in the ring, finishing their entrance. And they go through their shtick. And then the Usos music hits. And the two of them come out. And I'm thinking, they're not possibly going to be stupid enough to have a tag team match between these two right now. No. No, this is going to be a one-on-one match. Road Dogg and Jimmy Uso are on commentary for this match. It's going to be a one-on-one match between Jey Uso and Billy Gunn. And who really gives a fuck? Here's the finish. Billy goes for the Famouser, but Jey dodges it and does a roll-up for the win. So Jey wins. There's a brawl after the match. Jimmy clocked Road Dogg, and there was Billy, and then one of them dove over the top rope. One of the Usos, that is, dove over the top rope and flattens both of the Outlaws. And the Usos are in the ring celebrating, and the crowd was dead again. Because after that match with Cena and Cesaro, the crowd was gassed. They were dead after that. That really should have been the main event. Because after that, they didn't give a fuck about anything. Anyways, cutting backstage to Byron Saxton, who's in the locker room again, this time with Sheamus. Again, Sheamus cuts another promo. Whatever. We cut to a commercial. And coming back from the commercial, we get another recap from SmackDown. And this is from SmackDown. There was a match. Sheamus and Christian were in. I think they were teamed up. I don't know or give a fuck. Sheamus went for the brogue kick and wound up hitting Christian. And so, because of that, Sheamus versus Christian is going to happen on SmackDown this Friday. Who cares? Cutting back to the arena, Randy's music hits and he comes out to no reaction again. Randy, you should be very worried right now. You've come out to no reaction for about 4 or 5 weeks in a row now. The crowds really don't give a fuck about you. They can't stand your boring ass as the champion anymore. You really should be worried. I really don't see him keeping the title in the Elimination Chamber match. I really don't see it happening. Anyways, Sheamus' music hits and he comes out to hardly any reaction. He got a small reaction, but it wasn't much. And we get the match between these two. It wasn't really all that great. There was a CM Punk chant, blah, 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 and they cut to commercial. Sheamus comes off the top rope with a flying shoulder block. And Randy had already kind of cleared off the announce table earlier. But they go back outside of the ring over to the table. And what happens is Randy does his back suplex that he normally does where he lands him on the barricade. This time, he lands Sheamus on the announce table. And the announce table just barely collapses under Sheamus' weight. It looked really weak. But for some strange reason, the crowd started chanting, "Holy shit." Holy shit, it looked weak. I don't know why they would have chanted that, but whatever. Randy goes for his rope-hung DDT, but Sheamus counters out of it, throwing Randy through the ropes and cinching his arms over the ropes and doing his clubbing thing. Randy's able to come back after that. He does his back and neck breaker thing, and then he finally hits his rope DDT. He just has to hit that. He grabbed Sheamus by the head, threw him through the ropes, and then grabbed him and planted it. He's got to hit that move no matter how contrived it looks. It's really getting old at this spot. Like, you know, if he only did the move, like when the guy was trying to get back in the ring and he just catch him and plant him with it, it would look fine. But no, he grabs him by the head, throws him through the ropes to set him up, pulls him back in, and plants him. It just looks so contrived and stupid. Not only that, but like, it's not like they're dropping from any more of a height than they would be if you would just hit him with a regular DDT. So what is the fucking point of doing it? Doing it off the top rope. Okay, you know what? That's a little bit higher. Still not much higher, but still a little bit. But Jesus Christ, the rope thing, what's the point? But he hits it. And he starts coiling for his RKO. And by the way, Randy, when you have a lightning quick finisher like the RKO, it's really not a good idea to telegraph the shit out of it. Ooh, I'm gonna stare at the crowd and then spin around and land and bang on the fucking apron like a yutz. And of course, it gets countered. Sheamus just kind of throws him down on his back. And Sheamus grabs him, and he does the Irish Curse backbreaker 3 times. And he throws Randy down, and he goes into the corner, and he's brogue. He's getting ready for the brogue kick. And then all of a sudden, in comes the Shield from out of nowhere. Yeah, and they start beating up Sheamus. I don't know why, but the bell rings, so I'm guessing Sheamus wins by DQ. But the Shield's in, and then Bryan and Cena come in, and then Cesaro comes in, and then Blackout, and the Wyatts teleport in. And they're face-to-face with the Shield, and then they start brawling, and then everybody's brawling, and apparently Christian came in somewhere too. I never saw him. But we got a big brawl, and that's how the show ends. They're still brawling. So, of course, you've got a bunch of different storylines going on leading into a pay-per-view. What else can we do but hype up? What else can we do to hype up the pay-per-view but have a big goddamn brawl with everybody involved in the big storylines? Can you guys not be more creative than that? I guess not. So anyways, yeah, that was Raw. It sucked. Again. 3 weeks in a row now. I am so fucking bored of this shit at this time. As always, let's go over the matches one more time. Daniel Bryan defeats Christian in a decent match, only to get beat up by Kane, but Bryan still wins by DQ. Fandango defeats Santino in a throwaway match. I'm surprised The Miz didn't come out to bitch. We didn't see Miz at all during the show. We didn't see Dolph Ziggler. But Fandango defeats Santino, and we have the teasing of a romance between Santino and Emma. Where is my barf bag? Santino is a joke. And so basically what they're saying is, yeah, Emma's going to be a joke too. Can she please wrestle sometime soon? Christ. Anyways, Roman Reigns defeats Mark Henry clean. Jack Swagger defeats Kofi Kingston. Big E defeats Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre in a 2-on-1 handicap match. And then, of course, Cena defeats Cesaro in a good match. It was a good match, but I don't think it was awesome, necessarily. And then after that, the Wyatts defeat Los Matadores and Sin Hunico. And then Jey Uso defeats Billy Gunn. Who gives a fuck? And then Sheamus beats Randy Orton by DQ. Or at least I would think that would be the outcome of that match, considering the Shield runs in and attacks Sheamus first. And then the bell rang. So you would think it would be a DQ. But they never announced it. Who really cares? That's your show, folks. God damn. I was so bored during this show. Half the show I was looking at my computer, watching the discussion topic on the message board that I keep mentioning. I was listening to music. This shit's getting so old, man. If something big doesn't happen at the Elimination Chamber, if we don't get a new champion, Randy cannot hold that belt any longer. He really needs to drop that title to somebody else. And it really needs to be Daniel Bryan. Nobody else should take that title from him. Number one, the history between Bryan and Orton. Bryan kept beating him, and they kept taking the title away, or they kept screwing him out of the title, like at Hell in a Cell. Bryan needs to beat Orton in the chamber. And Bryan needs to win the fucking chamber. Not only that, but he's supposedly going to be hurt going into the chamber after getting beat up by Kane. He's probably going to have his arm taped, his shoulder taped. So again, big underdog story for him to be, fight through injury, win the title, to go on to WrestleMania. That would be great. And can you imagine that? Bryan wins the title in the Elimination Chamber. He wins the title and goes on to WrestleMania to defend against Batista. Not only that, but he should defeat Batista. Use Batista in the only way that he'd be good for, which would be to put over new talent. Because he sure as hell isn't worth anything else. The crowd don't want to see him. Yeah. Well, like I said, Raw sucked again. But that's what it was. February 17, 2014, Denver, Colorado. Is it midnight yet? Yes, it is. Good. I'm going to go down to Walmart and see if I can find a game that will have just come out. So, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to go do that. So, thank you for watching. Join us next time for the SmackDown spoilers. And I'm pretty sure the pay-per-view is this Sunday. So after we do the SmackDown spoilers, I'll probably go ahead and do my predictions for the pay-per-view. God damn. We didn't even get a Divas match tonight. I should probably be thankful for that. Anyways, join us next time for SmackDown. We will see you then.